So it's a little early, but I'm just going to start because I like to use the time before I can. I'm so excited. There's people here that don't even know me. You guys stayed. Thank you. You're going to love that you were here. I guarantee it. I promise you, you'll be like, wow, I'm glad I stayed there. Because what I'm going to share today is really miraculous. And I'm going to tell you my story because without it, you probably wouldn't believe what I'm going to teach you, what I'm going to tell you. But how many in here, I'm just curious, are believers in miracles? I'm just kind of curious. Yes! Nice! We have a room full of believers. So that's awesome. And I'm going to encourage people that are walking in to come and maybe if you guys want, you can like scoot in a little closer. Yeah. You don't have to, no pressure, but it's kind of fun. So my name is Lamont Wilcox. 5 years ago, I started a company that we call Fulfill Life Yourself. And it's a company that really, truly teaches at the core, teaches each individual how to make transformation within themselves and within their brain. And we do that by helping them understand how their brain works. And again, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story because you won't believe the rest unless you hear my story. I grew up in an amazing family where we were really happy, big family, had a lot of fun together, and I learned how to be really positive. And I got married, and we struggled a lot. We struggled at a really deep level. And we had 6 kids. Surprisingly, we were able to still have kids and start things going, but it got really painful. And there was a lot of diagnosis, and it got to where we were struggling at levels where we weren't functioning very well, and it was really rough. And there were people really close to me that rarely ever felt like they wanted to live. And that's pretty tough. That's really hard. And I'm a fix-it person. I got the fix-it mentality. I got to see if I can fix it. And we tried all kinds of things. We started in the natural realm of things and tried everything we could to see if that would help. Tried the religious side of things and went deep into that and everything we could and everything we could believe that way, try to help us. And then we got desperate and we started using mainstream society's methods because we were lost, we didn't know what to do. We were at a loss. We're like, there is no side effect worse than what we're already experiencing. Like it doesn't matter. We could die. It's better than where we're at. And it was rough. And I could see this happening, and I had a guy come to me, and he explained that as our brains develop, the way that our neurons connect create the reasoning that we use that determine how we see our experience. And how we see our experience creates our experience. It's not actually what's happening, it's how we process it and believe in the things we believe in. And that can go awry in 100,000 different ways that don't serve us very well. And as the brain develops, the way it chooses how it connects the neurons. Because what a thought is, I'm curious, how many people in here have heard the term neuroplasticity? Oh yes, I love that. When I started this is 5 years ago is when I started this. Hardly anyone knew that term. It was really uncommon for people to understand that concept. And the concept means that our brain can completely let go of connections and reconnect them in a different way and totally change us, right? And if that's true, then you can take a pattern, a mental pattern, or a habit that's created from a mental pattern, and you can change it, and then it's gone. Like gone, completely, out of you. You can have an addiction. And by the way, when we look at mental health, when neuroscientists look at the brain, and they look at someone struggling with mental health, whether it's OCD or depression or anxiety or a whole bunch of things, trauma, PTSD, all those things, and they look at someone who's struggling with an addiction, the brain looks the same. They're all actually addictions in the brain. So the behaviors are there because they meet chemical needs of the brain. And they were put there because of how the brain developed. And the neuroscientists, they're looking at the way this world's been writing, the mainstream at least, and actually a lot of it, and they're saying, well, they're saying, okay, so you're diagnosing people with all these things, and then you're trying to solve that problem. And they're like, I think we know why you're not solving the problem, because you have the problem wrong. The depression and the anxiety and the panic attacks and the PTSD and the personality disorders, those are not the problem. Those are painful, and they create suffering, but they're not actually the problem. The problem is the wiring that meets chemical needs at the foundation of how they think. When I started learning this stuff, I was like, oh, that resonates with me, that works. I think there's something there. I gotta study this more. I gotta figure this out. And I started learning it, and it started to change me. And notice what I just said. I started to learn it, and it changed me. So what does it take to learn? Or, I'm sorry, what does it take to change? Learn, right? And you think, and how many of you here say, well, I know better, but I still do the stuff that I don't want to do? So I'm going to put this out there. You think you know, and a part of you does know. But there's another part of your brain that fights it, that doesn't accept it, doesn't believe it. On a conscious level, you think, well, I know I don't want that thing. But on a subconscious level, your brain's like, oh no, I'm all in. This is an addiction of mine, I love it. I want depression, I want anxiety, I want OCD, and I want all those things. That's what it's doing, but we're unaware of it. It's not on a conscious level. So we don't know that's what's going on. And so, as I started to research and learn this stuff, I started to obsess. I kind of have this, ability to really obsess about something, especially if it's making change in me. And it's freeing me from my old ways of thinking and helping me feel like I want to feel more than not. And then, of course, the next thing is I want to help somebody else with it, right? And I started helping other people with it. And I started looking at all these models and taking courses, and I was signed up to all over the place. I was taking stuff out of Yale and taking stuff from all the recent science and people. Anybody hear of neuro-linguistic programming? I'm curious. Yeah, that is a powerful concept, but not very many people really get it. But that concept, I took courses, studied that stuff, all these different things. I started putting this all together. And you're like, when did you do this? How did you have time to do that? And at one point, I was like, I need more time. I need to figure this out, and I want to do it sooner than later. So what do I want to change first? What's going to help me change first to give me more time? What's holding me back from having time? And I thought, 9-to-5 job. That sucks. Anybody have a 9-to-5 that they'd rather not be at every day? And I thought, okay, I need to get that out of my way. Sounds kind of funny, huh? So I started using this to figure out my own maps of thinking, this foundation of how I think. I learned a lot of stuff about how I perceived authority, how I perceived money. Grew up in a really poor family. And within just a few months, I let myself get fired from my job, and I had no plan when I left. But the plan came in no time. Within 3 months, I had started a business, had 30 employees. I was making 7 times the amount of money I'd ever made before. And that sounds all exciting, have all that money, doesn't it? But it didn't to me. I was like, I don't care, I just want the time. And the money gives me time. And then I started really researching, I started really digging in, and I learned to program my brain to love to research and learn things. I learned how to get to the information. Anybody heard of the BRAIN Initiative that our government started about 10 years ago? All right, we got somebody? Yeah. It flooded our system with resources to learn about the brain. So research started coming out like crazy. Tons of research, 500 pages a day I calculated one time of new research around the brain. And so I just started learning how to get to the information, the right information, and I just started practicing and using things, and I started to help other people, and it started being this big thing, and I was like, this is amazing, this is incredible. I would have someone come in and they would have suicidal ideations, maybe even multiple suicide attempts. As a matter of fact, this is what happened. I met with a doctor that was a functional neurologist, and he said, and I explained my model to him a little bit. He's like, that aligns with everything I understand in neurology. So let me send you a few of my clients. So he took the ones that were really struggling. He had gained a reputation of helping people with mental illness and addiction. And he had me work with someone with borderline personality disorder. Anybody familiar with that? Curious? Those of you who know, know. And then one that had multiple suicide attempts, and then another one. And I worked with those, and in one day, they completely changed. I told you I was going to tell you miracles. We're talking miracle level life change, shift completely. I'm still in touch with these people, and they're doing amazing, and they're not having these old issues. And he said, I want you to work with all my patients. I'm going to clear out a room. You can have an office here, and you can just start working with everybody. So for 2 years, I got to just work with people one-on-one. I got to work with every mental illness out there. There's subcategories all over the place, but like every major type of mental illness, schizophrenia, personality disorders, multiple personalities, all this. And I use the same method with every one of them, same process with every one of them. Because I wasn't at the Band-Aid level, I was at the actual problem, so I get to the same thing and I can work at this foundational way of how their brain is wired. And I'm not doing it for them, I'm teaching it to them. I show them here, I teach them about how their brain works in a way that changes the way their brain works. Because it's knowledge, right, that changes you. It's knowing it. And I would have people come and say, well, I've tried so many things. I already know this, I already know all that. And I was like, so a part of you knows it, but there's another part that doesn't. And what this model does is help you get to that part. Because that's the part that needs to understand. That we need to, it's all about a chemical experience that your brain is having. And if the chemicals in your brain, if you don't understand them, they're going to do their own thing. But as soon as you understand them, you will start to change them. That conscious mind will do what we call a handshake with the subconscious, and they'll start to get along. Because they typically don't, right? Because the subconscious is trying to protect all the time.
Yeah.
Show you danger.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, that's dangerous. You need comfort. What you need is comfort. You don't need you don't need joy and happiness and success and fulfillment. You just need to be comfortable. Right? Anybody feel that before? Right? Let's just sit down and watch Netflix. That's pretty fun. Yeah. Social media. That's pretty fun. Got all these fun things, and those are all chemicals being met. And so we created this model. It's called Neuro-Auto-Associative Programming, NAAP. And by learning this model in a certain way, after the first year of being in that office, I had a handful of people come to me that I had seen and said, I worked on that my entire life, or I did therapy for 12 years, and in one day, you completely changed the scenario, right? Like, how did you do it? Like, I have to learn that. I have kids that struggle, I have a spouse, I have, and so I put together a course, and I started teaching facilitators. And so now we have this group of facilitators that are out there changing lives, using the model, teaching it to people. And so I ran into Tammy. Does everybody know who Tammy is that's running the event? I ran into Tammy before her last event in Ogden. And I started working with her. She got to experience it. She was like, holy cow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. She's like, I want you to speak. But the slots were all taken at this event. I spoke at the last one in Ogden. Did anybody go to that one? I'm just curious. Oh, nobody. Great. We're going to have a whole new group here. and I'm not on the schedule because it was all full. And I wasn't really thinking about coming up here. It's a little ways. I'm down in Saratoga Springs. It was a little drive. And I was like, well, I don't know. I couldn't decide back and forth. My daughter just got married. She usually speaks with me, so we're usually up here together. And she's on her honeymoon. She's in Thailand right now. And then they're going to Dominican Republic. They're having a blast. I'm telling you, just get in your brain. Just make all the stuff happen you want. Find the person of your dreams. You can marry them, and you can have an incredible life just by working through the things that are going on in your head and understanding how it's protecting you so much, sabotaging you as an attempt to protect, right? And anyway, day before yesterday, I was like, maybe I should go. I had another event that was in Ogden. I was like, it's only another 2 hours from Ogden, maybe. Like, man, I don't know. I started a text to her, and then I was like, I don't know. I'll think about it. And the next morning, I was going on a mountain bike ride. I was up at Nordic Valley on my mountain bike up in the mountains, and all of a sudden I thought, I'm just going to send that text. I think that would be fun. I'm just going to send it. I send it. She immediately responds. She says, this never happens. She goes, I was going to text you yesterday, last night, and say, hey, we have an open spot. I really want you to speak. And I was like, I'm up in the mountains, in the trees, and that sounds really fun. I'll totally do that. That's awesome. I didn't have all my stuff and everything. I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to go up there and keep camp. I like camping, so I just camp wherever I go. and so I got to come and set up my booth, and now I get to meet all these amazing people. And one of the things that my wife said to me, she said, this has to be, like, this is the thing it has to be. Because you're going to go there and imagine the people that you're going to touch and the massive, massive shift and empowerment that you're going to give them and change them. And I was like, oh, you're right. Why did I hesitate at all? I'm going to this event. And so I'm so glad that some people just kind of came anyway, even though it was the wrong people. But I want to paint a little bit of a picture of how transformation works to eliminate mental illness. Anybody want to see that? I'm really curious. Okay. So this is the problem. The problem is we have like a traumatic event in our life, maybe as a little child. And then it creates all these patterns in our brain. But those patterns are created because the brain has found a way to meet the chemical needs. So then we imprint that in our brain of how to meet those chemical needs. And then we store it. Our subconscious is a storage device, right? It does two things. It stores information and it plays programs. So that's what it does. It just automatically plays programs when it feels like it needs the chemicals that program will provide. Okay? So people say, okay, so you had this event. We need to help you work through this event so you can cope with the emotions that came from this event. You can cope with what happened and how you feel about it or whatever. And then they do things like, and these are all, I'm not saying these are bad things. These are wrong things, right? Anybody hear of EMDR? Mm-hmm. And we have people out here that are doing tapping and ART, and there's a whole bunch of emotional release type techniques, and then there's just going to the spa and having a great day. And there's all those different things. Those are all great reliefs, right? As a matter of fact, when you tell a friend about your issue, it feels pretty good, right? Sometimes, it depends. That you can help somebody feel good by just connecting with them and just responding, helping them feel loved. And that's a chemical, helping them feel loved. And the thing is, it doesn't solve their problem, right? And teaching them to cope with their problem still leaves a problem, right? Coping with the problem actually solidifies their belief that there's a problem and that is a problem, right? So someone will have a traumatic experience, they'll look back at that traumatic experience and they'll say, oh, that was so horrible, it was so bad, it was so unfair, it was so not supposed to be, right? Not supposed to be. There's a recent study that they did that took two groups of people and they had them I'm not going to go into the full details, but they had them have an experience that we would label as a negative experience, right? Typically label as a negative experience. And they had another group that had the same experience, but they told them that there was a purpose in it, and that purpose was valuable to them. And they checked the biomarkers in their body for immune system response. And the people that believed that there was a purpose in it and that there was a benefit to it had an increase and improvement in their immune response. And the people who didn't had a negative effect to it. So, when someone looks back at their traumatic experience, what this model does is it gives them the ability to go through a process in each experience and see how they valued that experience and how it met chemical needs. And then make changes to their perception of that experience so that their chemical needs can be met in a beneficial way instead of a detrimental way. Does that make sense? So instead of seeing that traumatic event as a bad thing or a negative thing or something that took from them, they learned how that event actually wasn't bad and it didn't take from them, but it gave them something. As a matter of fact, we teach them how to go deep into all the different ways that it gave them something. So much so, and this is why. Because you use a different area of your brain when you think that you're gaining something compared to when you're losing something. If you think you're losing something, different area of your brain participates. They did another research study with a group of women who were maids to a big hotel chain. And they took two groups, and they asked them questions about their health, their exercise routines, different things like that. And most of them, they said, we don't exercise. We work all day. And so we don't have the energy for that, or whatever. And then the other group, they taught them how valuable their job was and how important it was to the company and all the guests and everything. And they took the other group and they said, okay, so here's how many calories someone burns when they go to the gym for an hour a day. Here's how many you burn when you work all day. Here's all and they basically showed them, same kind of thing. They measured biomarkers for different health aspects and immune system response. The ladies that they showed them that they were actually doing more exercise than someone who goes to the gym every day, as far as burning calories and a whole series of other, health things that we typically see as things that are good for our body, the movement they're making, all these different things. And that's all they did. They just told them those things, and then they measured and questioned them over the next few years. And guess what happened? The ladies that they talked to and told them that they were already doing it, now that they believed it and saw it, their bodies changed. They actually lost weight. But they didn't change their behavior. They did the same thing because their brain bought into it. It changed the whole way that their body works. So this whole concept of placebo and nocebo, which are huge concepts, that they're really starting to come to light, even in mainstream society. Even the mainstream doctors have a huge discussion going on about what they tell their patients. I just heard one 2 days ago about a doctor who told a patient that they had 3 weeks to live because of a thing, and it was the wrong patient, and that person died in 3 weeks. And then they did an autopsy, and they're like, they didn't have any now. Why did they die? So, yeah, you get an authority figure in front of you that your brain is wrapped around, that you believe in, your body will change with your brain on the things that they tell you and say to you. So, we teach these concepts at a deep level, kind of like what we've been talking about here, but in a certain process and a certain way with this model. And by understanding it, it changes you. Like you just change. And at this office, I was able to have people that would come in and they had suicidal ideations. They walk out without them. I even had people say, wait, now what? And I would say, well, you came in because of this. They're like, what? No way. Why would I think that? And I'd be like, oh, good. Worked. Like, it really worked. And I'd say, well, you told me this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, you're right. Why would I? Like they were a different person. I would tell people, they'd come in the office, I'd say, when you walk out this door, it's going to be like you live in a different planet. It's going to be a different world because you're going to understand so well what your brain's doing that you're going to take over what it's doing on a conscious level. The research right now shows that we use our conscious mind only about 5 to 10% of the time to make decisions. So 85 to 95% of our decisions are just subconscious decisions that are based off of patterns that were created when we were little children. And that's how we live. Anybody see someone having a panic attack? Looks like a little child, right? You're like, well, what? That's not going to help. Right? What is it I have people come in, they have panic attacks, like severe, like the kind that put you in the hospital, those kind. And then they walk out and never have another one again. But that's not the only thing. That's the side effect of what we actually do. Because those are all just side effects. Those are all just, people come back to me and they say, I didn't even bring this up. But I had this addiction when we met, and I've never done it again. Like it just went away. Even though I didn't tell you about it. And I was like, it's about understanding your brain. So it's about learning how your brain functions and how it works so that you can change it. It's all it is. We're born into this world, we have this brain, we use it all day, every day, and we have no idea how it works or what it's doing. Anybody want to learn like how theirs works?
Yeah.
Yes. So I've been able to talk to a handful of people out at my booth a little bit. I'm really trying to get a group big enough in Idaho that I can just drive up here and come up and do these. So the way our system works, have I only been talking for 20 minutes? Lies. Yeah.
Can you say the name of that again?
Neuro-Auto Associative Programming. So when we have triggers, it's an auto association. It's an automatic association that was implanted in us at some point in time. We have Smiler over here who totally understands what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
she's like, I know this stuff. So the name of the company, if you search for us to find us on YouTube or our website, is Fulfill Life Yourself. Fulfill Life Yourself. Actually, I'll pass it around. Fulfill Life Yourself. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something about our perceptions. I'll pass this around, and then I can reach out to you too and send you links and different things like that. Let's see. I brought it. Oh, here we go. There's a pen. And if you have questions, I have about 100+ phone numbers of people who've been through our program that will light up just like I'm lit up right now to tell you about their story. It is incredible. We do group sessions, we do family sessions. We watch families unravel all this stuff going on between them that's just totally wrecking them. And they're wrecking each other, and nobody wants to, but they just can't, they don't know why, and they just keep going, and they can't stop. And if you go to our website, you'll see some of those testimonials. We finally, not really a business person, but I just make it happen because I just want to help people. And I am, as you can see, really passionate about the pain and the suffering that we have that is totally unnecessary. We don't have to have it. Like, it's just crazy to me that I've been able to figure this out. I've gone through a lot to figure it out. And I'm glad for every minute, every pain that I experienced, everything that I went through, totally glad. Because I don't know how I would have figured it out without that. I don't know where I would have got the passion and the drive to overcome and figure those things out. And so I'm really excited to help you guys. And I want to show you one more thing. And I'm going to pass this around because you're not going to believe me when I show it to you. Except this group's all about miracles, right? So, right? Your perceptions are way off. I'm just going to tell you from the beginning that the mental illnesses and the addictions we have, the patterns we have we don't want to have, are because of an inability to analyze our perception and to get it right. Because these two dresses, they look very much like they're two different colors, right? And not only that, but we use our five senses to determine our experience, right? But are our five senses accurate? Are they missing things? Has everybody seen how much of the spectrum of light that our eyes detect? Anybody see that?
Small.
Yeah, if the spectrum of light was this long, we can see about that much of it. Like one little tiny piece. Are there animals that can see other spectrums? Yeah. There's animals that can see totally different spectrums. There's some animals that see in the dark that actually use the light. They reuse the light that's there, just with their eyes, so they can see better in the dark. So here's how we use our brain. We determine our experience, we give meaning or determine what we're experiencing right now by contrasting it to all our past experiences. Sitting on a chair, being at a conference, listening to someone talk up front, or being at home, grabbing something out of the fridge, all of those things, they're all being determined by our past experience. But it's not really our past experience, it's our perception of our past experience. Has anybody been in an experience with someone else and then they told the story and you're like, that's not what happened? That was not my experience. Or explained their emotions around the experience and you're like, that wasn't mine. Like, I didn't feel the same thing at all. Like, what are you talking about? that person said this, and they were this. And you're like, I didn't think that's what they were doing. Like, because everybody's brain is running around trying to find the chemicals. And they're finding reasoning or maps or ways to connect to get those chemical needs met. And so the way that you see this image is a contrast from what you've seen in the past and what you see around it. But actually, and if I didn't tell you this, your chances of seeing it would be pretty much zero. You would not see it. But I'm going to tell you that within these two boxes, these dresses are the exact same color. They're identical. But because of what you're contrasting with it, you can't see it. Now here's the other thing. Once I show it to you, you're going to know, and you're going to know. You're not going to go back to what you know, especially if I hand it to you and you do what I'm going to show you. What we teach people with this model is to erase the contrasting things around it so they can see it clearly and tap in. Because what we're doing is we're tapping in. Because the neuroscientists in 2018, one of their top discoveries was that every cell of our body had memory. And that memory could hold, actually they were talking about neurons, the neuron cells of our body, which are in our brain, in our heart, and in our gut. Those neurons have 800 gigabytes of memory. 800 gigabytes of memory. Where does that memory come from? Yeah.
I'm a massage therapist, and we've learned that we store our emotions, our memories in our muscles that we shove down when we shove it, don't want to deal with it. They're stored. So that comes out in my clients when I'm working on certain muscle groups, and they start crying. They don't know why.
Yeah.
It's a stored emotion.
So those type of memories are a series of neurons that are connected. So when you have a series of neurons, that's your reasoning. That's how you reason. That's how you perceive. That's how you calculate. That's how you use your brain. So they've calculated those things and they've stored them. On a cellular level, at the center of every cell, they have mitochondria. You guys know what mitochondria is? They have a whole bunch of stuff. And those things all play a part in the memory that we have that is in every cell, and it's the same in every cell. And I'm going to ask you if you might consider what I think. What I think is that all truth, at the core, the very base of all truth, if you put it down to its very simplest form, can fit in 800 gigabytes of space. And that all truth is there. And that every cell knows all truth. But because of the way we've connected them, and we meet needs, we can't see them very well. So when we get that out of the way, we know things. Like we know it. We don't have to test it. We don't have to see, oh, will this parenting work? We find it. And we're like, oh, that's the one that will work. I know it will. Because guess what happens if you have a relationship or if you parent and you rely on their response to determine if what you did was helpful or not? Anybody have teenagers? They are not going to give you feedback that tells you if what you're doing is effective. They are not. They're going to do the opposite. They're going to tell you it didn't work when it does, right? She's over here smiling because she's...
Same for toddlers.
So instead of relying on these external things and the things you see and all these different things, you go into yourself and you tap in. And what you find is if you can erase all that contrast and find it, that you can see that that dress, that color, is exactly the same as that color. That color right there is exactly the same as that color. I'll pass it around so you can do it yourself, because you're all going, wait, what? How did... So, actually, I'll start right here. You can do it yourself. You can touch and feel and do it yourself and see that it's real. Yeah?
So, if you fix our brains, does that help fix our bodies then? So if we have physical ailments and all that?
Anybody believe in the brain-body connection?
Yes.
First of all, where are all your neurons, I said?
In your brain, heart, and
Yeah, brain, heart. So in our model, we go through a whole bunch of those concepts. I did a lot of research about what kind of food intake and how it affects our brain. And we teach a lot of that stuff. We teach about how you're, I don't want to go too far into it, but to answer your question, people will come back to me months later and say, this ailment is gone. I never talked about that ailment. I just talked about the way their brain works and how it meets needs and why it, and its whole driver to existence is to experience those chemical experiences. And so when you can't, or you're afraid that you can't meet those chemical experiences, it expresses in all kinds of ways. Anybody in here heard epigenetics?
Yes.
Gene expression? The ability for the people used to say there's a lot of stuff that's in our DNA, like mental health stuff. You know, show me on the DNA strand where mental health sits, because it doesn't. It's not there. It's taken on generationally because it's trained as it develops by the brains around it. Mom tends to be there a lot. But it's not just the mom, it's how the mom responds to the other brains in the room. And then they get that, because the brain runs on electricity, right? And electricity has frequencies. And frequencies don't have walls around them. They go out, right? They can even measure out past your fingertips your own frequencies of your brain. Oh, there's so many cool things I love to share about it. But our brains are so incredibly capable. And the thing that's in the way is just these maps of how it was put together. And we pass them on and we don't even understand. And our kids use them differently than we do. It's the same pattern, but they apply it differently, right? How many of you like the idea of being independently capable, but your children use that independence differently than you wanted them to use it?
Yeah.
Right? And then your problem is you think there's something wrong with it. Right? They think there's something wrong with it. I don't know.
No.
Maybe she doesn't. Good.
That one's not one of them.
Yeah. I wouldn't think so with her. I can just feel that. But so this program, and I used to meet with people just once. It would be like 7 hours. We do what's called an intensive session, walking through all these concepts till their brain just opens up to it. And then they just can't believe it. I would tell people, okay, so, and this is a process to help them solidify their new thinking. I would say if I had a button right here that I could press that would erase this from all your memory, what would you do to keep me from pressing that button? What would you, and I'll even say, what would you pay me to not press that button? And they're like, I would do anything. I would dedicate the rest of my life to keep you from pressing that button. Because you just changed me so much and it's so empowering. Like I know now. Like every scenario of my future, I know what to do already. How many here would like to say that? Every scenario of my future, I can know what to do. Right? It is so fun. I told you, miraculous, right? Miracle. Thank you for miracle believers coming here so that you can take on to this. Because I have a huge group of people I would love to introduce. I wish I could have them all here. I got, like I said, I just found out about this yesterday. I usually bring a few of the facilitators, my daughter, a couple other people, and they share their stories, and they are amazing. They are incredible. I had a lady reach out to me earlier this year, and she said, I don't know if you remember me, but we met at that office. We met one day. She said, it completely changed me, like changed my life. And I've had a series of real difficulties, and they weren't difficult. Like I couldn't believe how well I could do this. She said, I want to write a book. And I'm reaching out because I want your permission to share, and hopefully your help to like write the book and get it out. And I was like, heck yeah. I was like, I'll definitely do that. Let's do it. and that's one story. She was struggling with self-harm. She was struggling with suicidal ideations and different things like that. And it just totally changed her life. I've kept a lot of these people have come to me and said, I want to know what you did, and I've created a course, like I said, and that course now is growing really fast. People who go through it, they're like, okay, now that I've experienced it, I can't just hold it in. Like, not going to do that. I got to figure out a way to help other people. And everybody does it at different levels. I was in Ogden day before yesterday because two of the clients that I had helped, they just organized a group of people and said, come speak to us. And I was like, great, I'll love that. I love that. Let's do it. I just barely started doing any kind of speaking or anything like that. Everything else was just word of mouth, everyone telling other people and bringing them in and sharing. And it's just been amazing. If you're someone who wants to make it like a career, make it your thing, like this is the most powerful thing out there. You won't have to do marketing or advertising if you don't want, but that speeds things up and helps a lot. We're even putting together a website with our facilitators on everything, so I can because I can't help everybody. We got a lot of people, and some people, everybody's a little different in a group dynamic. People that come to a thing like this do really well in a group dynamic because they're here. So their personality is already kind of that way a little bit. And I can utilize and leverage the energy and what the group is experiencing to help everybody at a higher level. Individually, one-on-one, I teach people to read other people's maps, how to understand their map and how they think, so that when you speak to them, you use their version of how to perceive, and then it changes them. So if you're a parent and you're trying to help your kids and they won't listen to you, or they hate you, or all these things, you can change it in faster than you think. You can change your kids in one sentence, but you currently won't come up with that sentence because your brain is not designed to know what that sentence is. But if you come up with the right one, either it's a sentence or a question or whatever, this model helps you come up with those things. But first you do it for yourself. You do it for yourself first. And then you watch it happen and you go, holy cow, that can happen like that. And then your brain buys into it and believes in it. And if it believes in it and buys into it, it can accomplish anything. Anything. You can get to any place in life that you want to be doing, whatever it is you want to do. You can. And the world will fall in place for you. That's what I've experienced. I go into that office and running into somebody who just invites me into his office to help people every day. And that's all I have to focus on. And I just love every day. I thought I was a pretty happy person before. I was one of those happy people that, just acted really happy a lot and always looked at the positive. And everybody teaches you, think of the positive, be on the side of positive. And the thing is, positive can be okay, but it doesn't solve your problems. Matter of fact, it sometimes hides them from your view. And that's what I did for years. And I look back and I think that seems really insensitive, but you know what? That's just the way I was programmed. So, I'm going to take where I'm at now, go with it. I'm going to run with it. And I'm going to make up for lost time. And I'm going to help everybody I can. So, I have 10 minutes left, and I just want to open it up for questions. Yeah.
So this is really inspiring, giving me a lot of hope. I'm excited about this, but do you have any examples of people that you've helped that have been through awful things? Like I'm working with a young lady I'm trying to help right now. She was kidnapped from a birthday party at age 11 and raped. And this is what her trauma, and she has dreams about it. And
yeah.
Is there hope for somebody like that?
I know. And it's really hard to imagine that she could change her vision around that thing to where she actually doesn't despise it or hate it. But that's what she would do. And people tell me, they're like, doesn't it wear you out to go to this office and have these people with all these massively traumatic events? I mean, I worked with a lady who had 9 children, and she had been locked in her bedroom by her husband for 7 years. Yeah. That's pretty intense, And then that's let alone all the stuff that happened to her when she was a child, before she got to that scenario, right? People who, it doesn't get worse. I've heard nothing shocks me. And people say, how do you take that every day and then not get drained? And I said, it's perception. Because I choose to perceive the idea and the concept and to focus on the idea that everything they tell me is another piece of a clue that will help me help them. And I'm at the point where as soon as they give me the clue, I know what they need. So I'm sitting there and they're just having this huge thing and they're struggling, and I'm just sitting there just so excited, gathering everything, writing stuff down, getting it ready so that I can use it. And I walk out of there with energy like no other. I used to be hypoglycemic. I had to eat every 2 hours. I'd have head rushes and pass out my whole life with just little missed, forgetting, or something like that. My whole life. That's so deeply ingrained into me. It was so deeply ingrained into me. And now I eat 2 meals a day. I have massive amounts of energy. I went 7 years barely sleeping at all. And now, sleep like a baby. I love it. And when I don't sleep really well, I don't care. I use it to meditate instead. I use it to get myself into theta meditation. So instead of feeling like things are always being taken from me, I find a way to always see that something's being given to me. In every scenario, I just keep working that into my head. And because of my understanding of how my brain works around it and what it will do when it's being used that way. It's literally just learning how your brain's working. And, and people talk to me about, well, but people, how many of you felt someone's energy as they walk in the room and it's really like, your energy is like, whoa, this is, yikes, That's a part of your brain that has learned a pattern to meet chemical needs by seeing it that way. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. Because your brain is greater than anything else on the outside. And with your brain, you can make everything serve you. All of your experiences can serve you. And you can leave everybody to their agency and do what they want, and it can have zero negative effect on you. As a matter of fact, you can make it have a positive effect on you. If you're married to someone who's got narcissistic patterns, and you think that you can't change that or overcome it, you can. And it's because, and what you're currently doing is probably driving the behavior and you don't even know it. And you just don't understand it. But when you understand, it changes you. And so I don't coach people, I don't do therapy, I just teach people how their brain works. That's it. And let them ask questions about it and help them see it and help them process it and help them, and then they take off with it. That's why the company's name, Fulfill Life Yourself. And I'll share one more thing, because I'm almost out of time.
Yeah.
The acronym for Fulfill Life Yourself is FLY. And when I was a kid, I was a little kid, we're talking 4, 5, 6, I had this dream that I could fly. And all I did is I just kind of let go of things in my head and just let my brain just be okay. And when I did that, I could fly in these dreams. And these were the kind of dreams that when you wake up from, like, did I just wake up or did I just fall asleep? Was that the real one or is this the real one? Which one is it? And I had this so many times. And then when I got closer to like my teenage years, other people started being in the dream and I started teaching them how to do it. And we would get up and I would tell them, okay, so once we start flying around, don't let things distract you. Don't let the airplanes going by or the power lines or the birds flying by distract you and make you go back to that concern and worry that you have. Just let it go and just be good and it'll be fine. And every once in a while they'd go up and something would distract them a little bit and they'd start to come back down. And it wasn't like they were falling or going to get hurt or anything. They would just slowly start to come down and I would try to help them. It's okay. We're in control. We can do this. We're in control. That's a big one. We're in control. We can do this. So I know you guys came and you have a lot of different things you're learning today and different things. And the one thing that I will warn you against is distraction. If this is resonating with you, and I'm not telling you that it needs to or you should or anything, but if it does, if you're feeling it right now, then pre-frame yourself to get past any distractions that come up after this and still take action. reach out to me. I have your numbers. I'll be texting out some things. Go to our website, learn more stuff, start taking action. Our brain's purpose is to drive action. That's what it does. Our brain drives action, and then we have experience, and that experience changes our brain. And so our brain actually wants to change, but it resists change in a big way. So as you go about and you go and do your other things, you get home to family and you got whatever going on tomorrow and all these different things, don't let the distraction keep you from whatever today touched you, whether it was in this room or another room or anywhere. Don't let your distraction is the number one difficulty in becoming successful and having the life you want to live. Number one by far. Every researcher out there, every trainer, everybody will talk to you about focus and distraction. And our brain is addicted to distraction. Any ADHDs in here? Yeah, that's me. So it's really easy. You guys have superpowers, by the way. That is a superpower, without question. But until you learn how it works, it's not super helpful. Yeah, a lot.
So just an example, you get on your website, then is that a
Yes.
process of
Thank
learn
you.
this online or in person?
Thank you.
What's the process?
Yes. My website it's the third try. It's not great. It's not up to date. So don't believe any of this stuff on there. But there's some nice videos and stuff. Thank you for asking that. We have a YouTube channel that has a bunch of videos, some different things, different presentations and concepts and ideas. My daughter and I are on there doing most of it. What I would like to do is actually connect with each one of you individually. Like, I'd love to just do a Zoom call and just get to know your situation and what, the next thing for you would be that would be the most helpful. I've set it up in a way where I can help everyone. Because that was my number one goal, is to help everybody, no matter what their scenario, no matter what their situation. And it's taken me a while to put it together in a way that I can do that. But don't hesitate, no matter what your situation. We'll find a way to make it work. So I have people's phone numbers, and what I'll attempt to do is put together my calendar in a way that you can go in and create a meeting with me. I'm ADHD, so I have a lot of things going on in time. If you don't hear from me in the time that you want to, then reach out to me. Just say, hey, I was at this event, I wrote my own thing, I haven't heard from you. When's a good time to meet? And I'll just try to do it right then in that moment.
How do we reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out during,
How do I reach out
So,
to you?
yeah, so my email, I came to this last minute, I don't even have cards or anything. I don't know. Anyway.
It's okay, we got kids.
Yeah, Lamont, Lamonte, Onte. So Lamonte, kind of. Lamonte. And this is the hard part, fulfill life yourself. The reason it's hard is because there's 3 L's in a row right there.
Okay.
If you capitalize them as you write them, it helps you do it right. Fulfilllifeyourself.com. And again, you can go to our website. There's a contact thing on our website. Sometimes I see those. I'm about to hire a bunch of people to help me. Because when I speak to a group this size, I get really overwhelmed with the amount of response I get from them. I've only done this a few times. So I'm still not all set up yet, so please just keep working with me.
So it's fulfill life yourself what?
Fulfilllifeyourself.com.
.com,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't see it as pestering if you text me once a day. That's not too much. 2 or 3 times a day, then it gets lost because there's too many. But and this is a pretty good sized group. So if we can get this group and some of the others, and people sign up for our program, then I'll travel up here and we can do it in person.
Does it still take 7 hours?
So
Is that like what we would anticipate, a whole day or something?
so the way we do it now is it's a 2-month program.
Oh, okay.
And it starts out with a 5-hour, what we call intensive session. And it's a digital session that you watch on your own. After you do some worksheets. So the worksheets gets your head in a certain place so that you're ready to take in this stuff in the way that will help you the most. And then you do that, and then you start on these 30 modules. And then, while you're doing those 30 modules, you come to live sessions. whether you do it through Zoom or in person, live, you get to come to 3 different sessions. They're about 5 hours each. So you get a lot for your money. Like you get a lot. It is really life-changing. So, and it is a lot of fun. So I'm sitting here looking at each person. I wish I had a moment with every person. I look at their face. I can remember faces. I don't have names. Oh, by the way, when you text me your picture. Do a quick selfie and then send it to me, because I have a brain injury that's called anomic aphasia, and it keeps me from. I know it's just an excuse. I can't remember names very well. But if you put your face with it, I just started doing this and it's been so helpful. I get a text like, oh, I know who that person is. So just hold it and take a picture. I don't care, it doesn't matter what you look like at the time. Don't put on a bunch of makeup and make it look good. Just show me the picture. That's all I need. It's so helpful for me. So thank you so much. I think I'm out of time, but there's not another speaker coming. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else.
Oh, maybe there's not. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to meet each one of you. I hope we get a chance to connect and I get to help you and your family and your loved ones and hopefully the rest of your life and what you get to do and experience. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I do a thing with entire families where they do the whole thing. Everybody gets to do the whole program, and it's great. So normally it's $1,500 to go through the whole program, and then but we do a whole family for $35. Yeah, and typically it doesn't include like multiple families that are all out there, but let's talk about it.
My children.
Yeah.
This is just my children.
Yeah, so let's talk about it and see, and we'll figure out a way to make it.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I like doing that too. As long as you'll promise to send it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that person is
Yeah. Yeah. Send me a message. I'll get you. You don't hear from that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're all kind of learning.
I went to Professor at the online thing.
Pretty good.
So I can try it out.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's
It's a little further south. It's down in Utah.
10 years back.
But right now, a lot of
Doing
them.
something for 8
Oh,
hours.
you're right.
This all makes sense.
Yeah. But actually, a lot of the response that I've gotten lately is further north, so I've been, like, our next
Well,
conversation is.
I was thinking about it, and I've been scared for 2 months to even apply, thinking I would have accepted this.
If you want to get with me before that.
I want to just do it.
Yeah. If you don't.
But, 2 days ago, all of a sudden,
Yeah. I learned a lot of those. Tons, I take tons of courses in different things, a whole bunch. And I was like, okay, so what's missing out of each one of those?
I'm not used to this.
Foundational way of the way we use our brain.
I don't understand why about how, I'm like, ready to suck it up.
Tell me your name and then you
Courtney, where are you? I'm on the clipboard.
Yes.
Oh, you gotta get it, yeah, sorry.
Hey,
Just tell me I can talk as well.
But yes, I
Okay,
was
so I'm
very-
gonna, I'll reach out to him.
Good for you.
I brought my children. We're going to learn about this stuff. Over the course of 10 years.
Yeah. They had to implant the thought for you because you can talk that I am. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that. I know that. And
Okay. You're good. I think I am. This is the wood room, right? I am in here.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes. Awesome.
What time do you start?
5?
Okay.
I mean, I got 2 minutes. 3 minutes.
Yeah, I hope to hear from. What was your name? Amy. Okay. You would love to talk to these facilitators that are in this because it's really learning about your own thing. Like you have skills that can totally help you right now, but you're stuck because you haven't figured out in yourself yet. And that's the key. If you figure out yourself, then it's like, oh, well, of course. Now I can.
All right. Well, it could be just all of us. I mean, it's okay if this is a smaller class. Are you hanging with me? Are you here? Awesome. Hammy asked me if I would teach this extra class. And I said, sure. I said, I don't know how many